A lot of it really changed my life, man. And so, yeah, started watching a lot of those kind of videos, and like anyone else, I had that similar kind of journey of just getting into the gym, lifting weights. The biggest problem I find with self-improvement content generally is the underlying message is like, hey, you're not good enough, and these are the things you need to do so you can like fix that. And so while you might think like, oh yeah, you're watching this content and you're trying to level up, and it's helping you grow, it's limiting you, it's capping your growth, it's actually, you're not building any confidence, you're building ego, but your confidence is getting eroded and degraded away.
What advice would you give to people who have already gotten kind of through that first level of self-improvement? Like they've broken bad habits, started good ones. What do you kind of do after that?
That's a $1 million question, right? Because that just then becomes like, what do you want your impact to be? There's a certain level of personal accountability you need to take for your own mindset. And I think if you are consistently building a narrative in your mind that you're behind, that you're not good enough, that everyone else is ahead of you, that you can't do it, that you know, like any of those really unhelpful and just like negative thoughts and beliefs, then until you address why you believe that, until you address the fact that that's the narrative in your head and you update that, no one else can really help you. You gotta do that for yourself.
My name is Sam, and I'm on a journey to be successful, not just financially, but physically, socially, and spiritually. The purpose of this podcast is to learn how to do that. So I interview people I think we can all learn from. This is The Growth Apprentice. Could you introduce yourself to the listeners? Just tell them a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Ben. I started a self-improvement YouTube channel about a year and a half ago. And yeah, that's just off the back of a couple of years of really been dedicated to kind of like self-improvement and trying to level up different kind of aspects of my life. Trying to learn as much as I can, gain as much kind of wisdom and knowledge as I can. And that's something I found a lot of passion in. I'm sure you can kind of relate to that. Um, and yeah, I just decided to start making some content about it. Um, and yeah, man, just you reached out and just had a look at some of your content, and seems like you got a very similar mindset, bro. And so I was keen to jump on and have a conversation and see what's going on.
Yeah. So how did you first get into self-improvement? What was that? What was the start of your journey?
Man, pretty much like anyone else, I guess. You know, I was probably 13, 14 years old, and addicted to video games, and just, spending my days wasting time just eating like crap food, and just feeling pretty terrible, bro. You know what I mean? Like socially, just not super, no super solid like friend group or anything like that, and obviously that brings with it quite a lot of yeah, just negative mindsets, a lot of uh general unhappiness. And yeah, I was probably 13. I found a lot of like self-improvement content on the internet and started like really getting into that. And obviously there's a lot of that which I would look back on now and go like, what was I doing? Like, um, there's a lot of false starts and kind of advice which I feel like is pretty toxic and pretty bad, but um, a lot of it really changed my life, man. And so yeah, started watching a lot of those kind of videos, and like anyone else, I had that similar kind of journey of just getting into the gym, lifting weights, and that was a big aspect for me. Getting into stuff like, meditating and journaling and trying to work on like my mental health and all of that. But then also, I was really lucky to have around a similar time some really really great mentors um, around me in my life to kind of to guide me away from a lot of the generic and maybe not super helpful stuff, and into some more thinking a little bit deeper about things, thinking in a slightly different like aspect, and that's something that's really had a big impact. So a mix of feeling pretty lost, not being super happy, not having much direction, having a lot of those kind of like bad habits and all that, and then also finding some good mentors, finding a direction which, I cared about, and wanting to do better socially, wanting to, yeah, pursue like fitness and all that, and it kind of just went from there, man.
Yeah, I think a lot of guys at one point in their life, they reach a point where they just want to get in great shape. They want to have great social skills, and a lot of the stuff that was appealing, it kind of loses its appeal and they just want to start, leveling up. What's some of the advice that that is common in the self-improvement industry that you think is actually harmful to people trying to build a better life?
I think when you start getting really like that's a good question, man. But I think when you start getting really into like specific weirdly almost like you start looking at it like a math problem. Um and you kind of are looking for these really specific little like tactics and strategies and stuff to like like fake confidence, project this like ego, this like
Yeah.
sense of whatever it is. I feel like that's a trap because you lose authenticity, you lose confidence. But I'd say the biggest thing is, and the biggest problem I find with self-improvement content generally is the underlying message is like, hey, you're not good enough, and these are the things you need to do so you can like fix that. And so while you might think like, oh yeah, you're watching this content and you're trying to level up, and it's helping you grow, it's limiting you, it's capping your growth. It's actually you're not building any confidence, you're building ego, but your confidence is getting eroded and degraded away because it's like every single day you're like putting this message into your head of like, hey, I'm not good enough as I am. I'm not worth the things that I want in life, and therefore I need to like fix all this stuff or like do all this different stuff to like prove to myself and the people around me in quite a shallow way that I am good enough, that I do have value and something to bring. And I think that's a pretty poisonous message to be putting in your mind every day, particularly when you
Mm.
think it's helping you.
Yeah, it's so interesting, like thinking that you're not good enough, because then when do you make the shift between, okay, I've built these skills and now I'm good enough, but now there's a whole new set of skills and a
Yeah.
whole new income bracket, and you're never going to reach the point where you're gonna be like, okay, now I'm good enough. Like you have to realize from the start. Was there like a conscious shift for you when you realized that some of that advice was harmful to you and where you wanted to go?
I think a combination of people who had known me my whole life and I knew genuinely cared about me, starting to be like, you're not like you're not seeming super authentic. You're not seeming like you're saying these things, but they don't feel like you. Um, and when your family members and the people that, and there's a difference between that sort of honest like people being concerned about you and genuinely caring about you, and people just doubting and trying to like
Yeah.
on what you're doing. Um, that's a different thing. But the people around me started being like, are you good? Because you're saying some stuff and you're acting in certain ways where it's like, it doesn't feel like you. And then also a lot of mentors having conversations with people who really knew me. And it's not just blanket advice. It's, being put out to hundreds of thousands of people by like a content creator or something. But it's like specific stuff where someone who's really actually intelligent, who cares about you, who knows you, is kind of starting to like pick through your mind, break down some of those limiting beliefs. Um, I think that was a big thing. Um, but in terms of you start realizing that the thing that's supposed to be making you feel better is making you feel worse.
Yeah.
The thing that's supposed to be building confidence is building insecurity, and that's when you realize it's kind of not it.
Yeah. Was it hard at first at all to have people, like checking in and saying, pointing out to you that you might not actually be happy when it felt like those goals might be
Mm.
helpful?
Yeah, it's a hit to your ego for sure because you've built this whole sense of confidence that's based on ego, that's based on these certain beliefs and worldviews. And when people, it's like anything. If you deeply believe something and someone's like, it is a challenging thing to confront. Um, but I think that's what the people I respect the most often are the people who are willing to sit with ideas that are uncomfortable, are willing to sit with things that they maybe don't agree with straight away, but they feel like hold some weight. Um, I think that's a big sign of like wisdom and maturity is like someone who's like so willing to like confront ideas that they don't like, but realize that like, okay, if that was true, what would that say about me? And then how do I feel about that? And then what does that mean? those kind of questions, which are a lot deeper and you wouldn't normally get, in other contexts.
Yeah, you're not gonna, and no one's gonna know you that personally, like a creator that's just making videos. And
Mm,
there's a lot of good out there in the
for sure.
self-improvement industry. I really like what you're doing though. What inspired you to start making content?
I kind of always made videos. Like even as a kid, I was kind of into like parkour and stuff, and I got this little, it wasn't a GoPro, but it was like a little action camera type thing. And I used to make videos of like me and my friends like at the park, like just doing some dumb stuff, and like we were like 11 or 10 years old, something like that. Just having fun, like making videos like that. Um, and then so making videos generally was always something that I really liked and I found really fun. Um, and then when I got into like self-improvement a lot, um, that's something that that's where the focus just shifted in terms of,
Yeah,
I wanted to be making videos and that's kind of the thing that I was most interested in at the time. Um, but there was a moment when I really realized like I wanted to take it seriously. And I actually found this awesome creator, Angelo. If you are, for anyone watching this podcast who's like really into self-development, but then also a little bit interested in like philosophy and some more like more kind of intellectual ideas, great creator to check out. I saw some of his videos and that just resonated where I was like, oh, there's people who have like a unique perspective, a unique voice, and they're speaking on things that are a lot deeper and more interesting and more relevant. I just loved his videos, and I was like, there's actually room in the industry for new voices, new people to make an impact. And I realized how much I resonated with this a lot of this guy's videos, and how much that was starting to change my life and help me level up, not just in a way of like, oh, going to the gym and getting better habits, and that's all important. That's foundational. That's great stuff. But the more deeper of like worrying about then like your character and your actual mindset and your beliefs, and then questioning some of those things. Um, so it was a mix of just having a passion for making videos and being interested about self-improvement and wanting to get into that, and finding some really cool inspirations in other creators where I was like, that's awesome. I'd love to have an impact like that. Um,
yeah,
so that's probably the inspiration there.
yeah. I like that. And you've got the passion because you were really into that subject already, and then you'd already been making videos for a while, so it wasn't a foreign
Mhm.
concept. But you weren't like, okay, I want to make a bunch of money. I'm gonna learn a new skill, which like you can make money, but it was something that already resonated with you. I think that's super cool. So when let me think. Yeah, so you're talking about how after you'd started going to the gym and stuff like that, what advice would you give to people who have already gotten kind of through that first level of self-improvement? Like they've broken bad habits, started good ones. What do
Mm.
you kind of do after that?
I mean, that's a million dollar question, right? Because that just then becomes like, what do you want your impact to be? What do you want, what you really pursue every day of your life to be? What's something that's fulfilling and purposeful and that you actually want to dedicate yourself to? I think you have to start um, thinking about, okay, if I've got the foundation, if I've got the tools, if I've got the systems behind me where I feel like I can start really making something happen, where I'm at a point now where I can like work hard on things. I'm at a point where I've got good habits behind me and my life is set up well. You kind of got to pick like a project. That's what I've found. I don't know. It's just for me finding like a project that was purposeful and meaningful and bigger than myself was a big part of it. But I think, yeah, really trying to uplift people around you. You can never go wrong with that as a place to start of just like trying to step into them being like a leader. Forgetting about trying to get better like socially so you can be popular, and more focusing on trying to get better socially to become like a leader and a really good influence and have a good impact on the people around you, and step into that space.
Yeah. Yeah, I like what you're saying about finding a project. Like for me, I was like, I've got the habits at this point, and
Mm,
then I'm like, what do I do now? Because I was just wasting, not really wasting my time, but just not really working towards
mm,
anything. and I homeschool, so I have a lot more free time than most people do. And so that's kind of what inspired me to start this podcast. Is like I've learned a lot at this point, and then trying to keep learning from people is what
Mm.
the goal has been. But I like that is starting a project. I think that's great.
100%. I think it's just exactly what you said, which is just keep learning, keep leveling up. Realize that, cool, you meditate now, you go to the gym, that's great. Like genuinely good on you. That's awesome. But you know, realistically, we're still teenagers, and so comparatively to like where we're gonna be 10 years from now, we know nothing. So just like realizing that pursuing that knowledge is and those projects and the things that capture your interest and that you're passionate about and that feel purposeful. Yeah, bro, 100% agree. That's where it's at.
Yeah, it's because you're talking about how you probably know won't know where you are. Like you're gonna be such a different person in 10 years. What are your goals though for the future? Because I imagine you have intentional goals and
Yeah, bro. Um, my biggest goal, and it has been since I was probably 14, um, was to kick myself out of home the second I finished high school. So the second I turned 18, I finished high school. I am kicking myself out of home. I'm moving across the world to Spain, and I'm gonna go all in on like entrepreneurship, on like content creation. Um, that's the vision, bro. Is in the next 2 years, like leave home, and um, that's something that still terrifies me. But I'm also so excited for. Um, I think really my biggest goals in life are around like starting a family, bro. Are around like just trying to be the best future husband and father on the planet. Like that's honestly where my mind is at the moment. But outside of that, just whether it's through being like a speaker or a content creator or something, being a good leader and having a good impact. And yeah, just helping people in some capacity.
yeah, I like how it's all around helping other people. Like it's about being there for your future family and helping other people, and then by helping others so much, you're gonna grow so much, and then the purpose and fulfillment you have from that life you build is gonna be amazing. Pulling
100%.
more on that thread about family, when did you realize that that is, one of the things you really wanted in life?
I think when I gave myself permission to be open to that, right? Because for ages it was like, um, all my goals were very self-interested, bro. And I guess some of them still are. But I thought that having goals that were not about, say, like your own personal kind of growth and progress, and say that was in business or whatever, having goals outside of that meant you were unambitious or meant that you weren't um, pushing hard enough or that you weren't going to be like, successful or whatever. But when I gave myself permission to realize that, like, I don't have to go off anyone else's definition of success but my own, realizing that I'm kind of chasing purpose, peace of mind, and connection. And if I have a life with those three things, then I'll be a pretty happy dude. So that's kind of, I think that's a big thing, giving yourself permission to actually chase what you really want instead of what you think you should want or other people are telling you to want. Um, and in my case, yeah, that's family, that's, relationships. So,
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I think because you'll hear so many guys talk about how they've got this goal to, be a millionaire or something like that. But a lot of kids don't grow up and just want to be a millionaire. That's something you hear over and over again
mm,
online is like specific monetary goals. But I think if you really think about it, like I realized recently that like a family is something that I'm really looking forward to and that I want
mm.
in my life. Is there anything like what steps are you taking right now to prepare for that part of your life?
That's a good question. For me, a lot of it's around knowing myself, um, making sure I'm working first and foremost on my character, on those traits of integrity, um, and leadership. Um, because I think that at the end of the day, that's what it comes back to, is how well you can show up for the people you love, how well you can be a leader, how well you can look past um your own emotions and impulses in a certain moment at what actually matters, at what's actually important, how well you can, because we've all got different flaws and issues and things that, weirdly like hurt more than they should, think like, weak spots and sensitivities and um things that us off for like no reason, and identifying those, um learning to overcome them, or at least have control over those things instead of letting them dictate your life, dictate the way you interact with people, I think is big. But really, it comes back to what we were saying before about learning, continually trying to grow in the ways that actually matter, um, and work on things like just the really foundational stuff of like communication,
Yeah.
um, like honesty, just learning to just be like an honest person, a person with a lot of integrity. And I think a thought that I have in my mind a lot is just like be the sort of man I'd want my son to turn out like. Just try to whatever that looks like, be more like that. I often have like these weird, you know, um, like I get like a certain like vision in my mind of having like a son who's like 5 or 6, and having like some boxing pads and being like teaching him like a little bit of like combat sports or something, but just having those moments, where you're realizing like you're gonna be in that position one day. Um, you're actually going to be living that and experiencing that, and focusing on developing yourself so that when you get there, you do it well. And if you claim that's one of the most important things in your life, as a lot of us do, being family and relationships, is like you got to make sure you don't let the stupid shit in your own mind impact that in a way that's negative, and that you have the strength of character, um, and you're developed enough as a person that you can overcome those little things that would otherwise hold you back, and that you're in a place to lead well and to show up for the people you love well.
Yeah. I really like what you were saying about, trying to be the kind of person that you would want your future son to be. Because
Mm.
something I was thinking about is, or it's something I heard, is that your kids, they're not going to learn based on like, you're never going to intentionally like teach your kids things. Like maybe sometimes you will. But the majority of their character and their beliefs is going to come from watching you as a
100%.
person. And so you got to work on your character to make sure that, because if you want them to be the best people, you got to focus on yourself so that they
Mm.
can model after that. So I really like
100%.
that.
Yeah, man, totally.
Yeah. Another one I heard is if the person that your daughter was marrying was exactly like you, how would you feel about that?
Yeah.
And it's interesting for me because if you'd asked me that a couple years ago, I was like, like no, I don't
Mm.
want anyone. But if I have improved myself more and more, it's like I think I would be pretty cool. Like I'm 17 right now, so it's like you're not marrying a 17-year-old, but it's I would actually be okay with that. Like someone
Mm.
marrying someone like me, like my daughter. And I think it takes a while it doesn't have to take a while to get there, but I don't know, it's just like work on yourself. And I don't know, that's something I've noticed for myself.
Yeah, that's a really that's a punch in the gut if you think about that, and like to think about that and then to realize how much work there is to do.
Yeah.
But then also, yeah, as you said, like seeing how far you've come, and I definitely relate to that. I think that's a really uh that's a powerful frame to think about it from, and that's I like that, bro. That's it.
Yeah. And it's like I'm not there yet, but in 3 to 5 years, like if I continue on the path I'm on, I'd feel good about my daughter marrying a person like me.
Well, that's the thing, that
So
trajectory.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the trajectory. So
Mm,
your videos have gotten a lot of exposure recently. You had one that got like 85,000, and then
mm.
your more recent one has gotten like 18,000. On a lot of the comments on those people saying stuff like, "Dang, I'll never be as good as you, bro. Like you're so far ahead of me." Is that hard, like keeping your ego in check when you have a lot of people around you saying stuff like that?
To be honest, that those sort of comments me off because I'm
Yeah.
like, bro, you don't realize that like you are seeing like and obviously I don't intentionally try to be like inauthentic or present like a fake um version of myself. I always keep it 100% real. But you are seeing like a very carefully curated message. You're seeing like the best part of me, right? You're not seeing the side of me that fails like three out of six assignments at school. The side of me that it's always getting like forgetting to wash up my fry pan after breakfast, and you know what I mean? Like there's 100 things. I'm like, bro, if you compare, first of all, like why are you comparing yourself to anyone else anyway? Like you've got your own journey, you've got your own path. Like there's people in my life who I can, if I compared myself to, I'd feel like shit about myself. But it's like, I don't know, those sort of comments stupid me off a bit because it's like, bro, give yourself more credit. Give yourself more credit and don't put people who you're only seeing like this much of on a pedestal or you know what I mean? It's like we're all just figuring out and like
No.
you probably are so like you're probably so much further ahead of me in some ways. You've probably got gifts that I don't have. You've probably got wisdom that I don't have. You've got and in the same way I've got advantages and certain things that are going for me that and I feel really really blessed and yeah, privileged to have had like the people in my life I've had, the mentors, the opportunities. um I think weirdly those comments like help me get perspective and like humble myself, bro, because I realize like when people are like, oh bro, like you're further ahead, my brain immediately goes to all the ways I'm not, which is actually, I don't know how I feel about that, but I feel like it's helpful because it's like it's a reality check of like I might think that about someone I look up to, but in reality, it's you know,
Yeah, like there's no like super special thing about you that you can do things that they can't do. Like we're all just regular people and they can like you're setting an example and they can do it too, but it's like you're only seeing such a small part of it.
yeah,
I
for
really
sure,
like that. Yeah.
for sure.
Is it what advice would you give to those people though who think that they can't do it and that everyone else is just too far ahead?
It just comes back to if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Right? There's a certain level of personal accountability you need to take for your own mindset. Um, and I think if you are consistently building a narrative in your mind that you're behind, that you're not good enough, that everyone else is ahead of you, that you can't do it, that like any of those really unhelpful and just like negative thoughts and beliefs, then until you address why you believe that, until you address the fact that that's the narrative in your head and you update that, no one else can really help you. You've got to do that for yourself, right? And I'm sure like you personally have had um, a lot of limiting beliefs that you've had to overcome. I know I've had a lot myself. So it's like no one else can overcome those beliefs for you. Um, I empathize 100% because like obviously, I'm sure both of us have absolutely been there and still have thoughts like that. But it's like the one thing you have complete control over, um, is the things you say to yourself, is the narrative in your head. And it's not easy, it's not an easy thing to control, but you do have control over it, to the extent that matters.
Yeah. Yeah, I 100% have felt that same way before. And at one point I realized though is like this isn't serving me. This isn't helping me
Mm,
get closer to my goals. And then also on that thought of like what I want my future kids to be like is like I wouldn't want them
mm,
to have to, always be comparing themselves to other people like that. And
100%.
then once you let that go, like it's almost an ego thing. But then once you let that go is you just feel so much better about the progress that you have made. There's this book by Dan Sullivan, and it's The Gap and the Gain. And it's like you're going
Mm,
to look at the gain you've made, but there's always going to be a gap of where you could have been. And it's like a horizon. It's always going to be shifting forward. And high performers, there's people who focus on the gap, and there's people who focus on the gain. And it's not sustainable to be focusing always on what you didn't do. You got to focus
mm.
on what you did well and then just keep improving that.
100%, man. I think you're totally right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's been helpful for me. So,
For sure.
what are your goals with the channel then? Who are you trying to reach?
I guess there's a lot of young men who are into self-improvement, um, but are probably still being held back by a lot of those limiting beliefs we were just talking about, who are probably, they might have the habits, dialed in. They might meditate all the time and go to the gym, and they're probably pretty jacked, and they're probably a lot more confident than when they started that journey, but they're at that point where they're like, first of all, feel alone, and like there's not really other people in their life that resonate and that are on the same journey. And second of all, feel like there's like an aspect of it missing, because I feel like a lot of self-improvement content sells this narrative that if you just get jacked and start thinking about like, like your future goals and stuff, then that's gonna, you're just gonna make it in life suddenly. And it's like, bro, nah. So I want to, I guess the message I want to put out there, is to first of all, just reach those guys that feel alone, to be like, hey, you got like thousands of people who relate to you. And then, that's a big part of it. But then also, um, getting that message out there, which I've been lucky enough to learn from like mentors and stuff, of like really start focusing on like your character, on your relationships, on the type of person you actually want to be, and then on the projects and the mission that kind of calls to you, the thing that you actually really want to pursue, the thing that gives you meaning and, fulfillment, instead of just focusing on your own, fitness or whatever it is. Because at the end of the day, those things are a great foundation, but if you rely on that to make you feel whole, if you rely on that to make you feel good enough, if you rely on that to, give you some sort of fulfillment, it's just not going to. Um, and I want to help as many guys as possible avoid that trap, um, and be more focused on like showing up for the people they love as the best young man possible. Focusing on, I guess the other big thing, um, is I really like the if I could have one impact, it would be shifting people's perspective on like dating these days. It'd be shifting people's perspective on like relationships, because I feel like the modern world, self-improvement community, non-self-improvement community, like just everyone, particularly in our generation, has such a messed up perspective on dating. And like I think it's such a problem, because relationships are the foundation of everything, because people who end up together are going to be parents together, and they're going to raise kids who are then going to repeat all the same mistakes and cycles. And so it doesn't really get any deeper than that. Like the quality of the relationships between people in a society pretty much dictates the quality of that society, in my opinion. Um, and so the impact I'd really love to have is just kind of inspiring young men to be like, hey, I actually want to be a good man for my woman, and I want to build a partnership that's actually based on the right things. I want to be a great leader in my relationship, but also an incredibly kind and loving and caring individual. Um, and that's probably the biggest thing I feel like the self improvement space is missing is a
Yeah.
decent, you know what I mean? Because a lot of the self improvement stuff is like, oh, just get status and muscle so you can, you know, sleep around, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, bro, nah. Like
Yeah.
respectfully, nah. Yeah,
As it's interesting what you're saying about the societal impact that that's going to have because the kids are going to repeat the same mistakes, and if you don't have a good relationship and that just gets repeated, that's not going to be good for society as a whole. That's so interesting to think about. I haven't thought about that before. In one of your videos, you kind of mentioned how if a guy like if they start liking someone, being in a relationship, then they think, oh, this is a distraction from goals. It's like, why isn't that one of your goals? Why do you think I should
100%.
prioritize that and have that be a goal in their life, is to have a great relationship with their future spouse?
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of people weirdly try to deny the happiness and joy and fulfillment that comes through that. They're like, nah, because I'm a man, I gotta be like fully only fulfilled by like my work and my career. It's like, what are you on, bro? You're
Yeah.
like denying a whole part of yourself, a whole like aspect of fulfillment and joy that's like why? Why do you feel like it's not masculine to value your relationship above most other things in your life, if not, you know what I mean? Like one of the most valuable things. Um, I think it's a strange thing. People feel like if their relationship is their goal, if that's a place they get fulfillment from, then that's wrong. And it's like, what are you talking about, bro? Like that's what makes life joyful. That's what makes life meaningful and worth living is those relationships. Yeah, absolutely your purpose, your career, your mission. Um, but fulfillment comes from what you spend your time doing. Joy comes from who you spend it with. So you know what I mean. It's a strange mindset a lot of guys have. It's like don't deny something so blatantly obvious. If you get
Yeah.
joy and meaning from relationships, don't pretend you don't.
Yeah, I like that. That's interesting because it's definitely different from the narrative in the self-improvement community. But it's like that's really the most important decision I think that you'll ever make is
100%.
the person you marry, because you're gonna be with them for the rest of your life. And it's like I don't even think it matters so much. Like I think you should be doing work that you enjoy and that brings fulfillment. But like you could
Absolutely.
be totally happy working a 9 to 5 and having like a great relationship with your spouse. Like I don't think everyone necessarily needs to be a business owner making $10,000 a month. Like if you're happy with that and you've got a great relationship, like way to go. Like that's awesome.
Dude, you've won life because you've like, and the thing is you don't want to deny that other aspect, which is your own ambition as well. If you are ambitious,
Yeah.
if you do have a mission and a purpose, then be relentless about pursuing that. Absolutely. But you're so right. It's like if like you can totally be happy, like living a pretty normal, like think about like throughout history, how many men went to a job they just kind of didn't like every day, but they did that to provide for their family, right? For their wife, for their children. And it's like we've got this idea in our heads now as a generation that like we need to live these like flashy lives, like we got to have like um all this kind of extra stuff, and it's like it's actually not all about that. Like that's cool if you have that, cool, right? But I think then a lot of people also become a slave to that lifestyle as well. Um, but yeah, I think you're totally right, bro. Like so much fulfillment. Like you don't have to be a business owner crushing it to be fulfilled. And I think that's such a strange mindset that some people carry. But I think you're 100% right, bro.
Yeah. And I like what you were saying about if you are ambitious, like follow that because it's
Mm.
like you have that for a reason. You've got something to do with that. But if you are ambitious in like what's not a normal way, and like I heard about this guy that it was his dream to be a garbage truck driver, and that's where he got his fulfillment from. It's like everyone's got their thing, and
Yep.
like your thing does not have to be owning a business.
Yeah.
So what
100%.
inspired that for you to want to have a good relationship? I imagine you have that modeled in your life somehow.
It's a really good question, bro. I don't talk about my own relationship on really in my videos, like definitely not in any detail. That's something I'm always going to keep very private.
Hmm.
Um, but I was really, really blessed to meet someone very early in my life who I deeply care about and who really and that relationship really changed my perspective on a lot because it hasn't been easy or simple at all. Um, but we've grown together and learnt more together than because of the interesting situation. We've been forced to grow, learn to communicate, learn to um, trust each other, learn to work actually as partners. Um, and so I think meeting that person um, just kind of changed everything for me. When I realized like, whoa, because I had it in my head for such a long time that like I would never get a girlfriend. I don't know. That was one of those limiting beliefs. I just genuinely believed it wasn't ever going to happen. Um, when I did meet that person, it was kind of like, whoa, like that. It just changed my whole mindset. Um, and gave me a lot of like hope for the world too. Of like, there are so many awesome people, you know. Just as there are people who are interesting individuals and people who may you might meet and they may not have your best intentions at heart. And there are probably a lot of people who've been hurt a lot of times and therefore lost that hope. Um, but recognizing that there are a hell of a lot of good people, and that if you do your part and if you take accountability for your own stuff, um, you have a good mindset, you develop your character, you learn to treat people well, then you will end up with someone really awesome as well. So I
Yeah.
think I got a little sidetracked from your original question there, my bro. But that's why I think that became really important to me and where that perspective came from.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Something I heard kind of when I was a kid is you're going to attract the kind of person that you are. And I didn't like that at first because I'm like, well, I'm not going to attract anyone good then. Um, but it inspires to, level up yourself as a person. And then eventually you will find that person. And, but you gotta work on yourself first. I feel like you got to build that character like you were talking
Absolutely.
about. Like you don't want to just get a girlfriend to have a girlfriend or anything like that. Like you want
Mm.
to build a character because I feel like a lot of guys will have this goal is like okay like now like it's a popularity thing or something but it's like to have a girlfriend or something like that but
Mm.
it's like thinking long term like you got to build your character so you can attract the right kind of person.
Yeah, for sure, bro. 100%.
Yeah,
Mm.
kind of wrapping up here, do you have just any last thing you want to share with the guys listening?
Have hope. Have a very positive mindset. Even when it doesn't feel like it's necessarily, even if you have to be a little bit delusional in order to be optimistic and positive, then maybe you just got to be a bit delusional, and that's all good. Um, Never compromise your authenticity. Um, whatever whatever that vision or that mission in your head is, or that sense of ambition, whatever that is, chase that. Um, and just kind of always keep learning and growing and recognizing that like there's always a layer deeper, but that ultimately you are enough, and that you don't have to try to constantly prove that to anyone. Um, and that self improvement's great, but ultimately your relationships, and the thing you pursue, your purpose, is that's where you're really going to find joy and fulfillment. So I guess that would be the most helpful thought I feel like I could leave. But
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I've been thinking recently that like all that really matters in life is going to be your relationships, like relationships with your family and then also with yourself too, because you want to be able to respect yourself and like who you are as a person.
100%.
So yeah, I like that. Yeah, well,
Cool.
thank you for coming on today and for
Thanks for
sharing
having
your
me, Chris.
time.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah, I wish you the best of luck reaching the younger guys and then with your own goals too. Oh yeah, your community. Do you want to tell people about that real quick?
Oh yeah. So I've opened up like an online community on a platform called Skool. Just for people who are on this journey, who feel like they're kind of alone, but wanna be around, like-minded people who keep them accountable, help them grow. Um, yeah, it's just a place and like a brotherhood that is just designed to help people who have a similar mindset just connect. Just a place to like find some actual decent like friends on the same path and yeah, level up together. But that's what that is.
Yeah, I love that. Having a community and a brotherhood to keep you accountable and to level up with, it's so powerful with goals.
100%,
And
bro.
then where can people find you on YouTube?
It's just Ben G Taylor. That's the channel.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on today. It's been a great conversation.
100%, man. I wish you the best of luck with this podcast. I think you got a lot of potential. I think it's just awesome to see like another guy getting after it and trying to build something. So big respect, bro. I love what you're doing. And I'm excited to see where you take this.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for listening to the show today. Really, I appreciate that. If you found value from this, then please share it with a friend, leave a review, and follow the show, because that will help us reach more people so we can all learn what true success is.